in the current situation, I feel that if there is any differentiator and any currency, it's skills. Because
Right.
skills are the one which are really going to take people and organizations from here to there. That journey is going to be
Absolutely.
traveled by way of skills. And when we
Mm-hmm.
say skills, it's not just the technical skills, it's also the
Right.
entire repertoire of skills which is behavioral. So how
Absolutely.
grounded and holistically developed talent becomes, that is the essence of skilling and upskilling, no?
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the People Hum interview series. This is your host Neha at People Hum. People Hum is an end-to-end, one-view, integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM that's specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and channel that receives more than 200,000 visitors a year, and we also publish several interviews with well-known names globally every month. I feel very honored to welcome Dr. Swatee Sarangi, who works as a C-suite level practitioner in strategic workforce design and capability development. She holds expertise in talent modeling, strategic workforce design and capability development, strategic visioning, learning, people development, work practice innovations, and leadership development. Aside from that, she has remarkable proficiency in design and execution of OD interventions, assessments, coaching, and mentoring models. Dr. Swatee has received the title of Best Management Faculty from Mr. Ratan Tata. She's a PhD holder and academic gold medalist and has over 20 plus publications to her name. She's an avid collaborator with Ivy League schools such as Harvard, INSEAD, London Business School, and she likes to shape leadership vision with a global dimension. She's a voracious reader, an all-rounder, actively participating in co-curricular activities. She's always been curious and looking for new opportunities to learn and contribute. On that note, it is once again my honor to welcome you, Dr. Swatee.
Thank you so much, Neha. Very happy to be here with People Hum. And thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. It's my honor, and I'm sure that in the next half an hour, it's going to be so power packed with your valuable insight. I'm so thrilled to be speaking to you. So let's jump right into it. So the first question, you've had expertise in so many areas, and you've received a gold medal too. So the first question that I want to ask you, Dr. Swatee, is how did you develop an interest in areas like learning and development, coaching and mentoring models? What were some of your most impressionable learning experiences?
If I look back in the way it has shaped out for me, I would say I've always been very curious as a child, wanting to try new things, dabble with the unknown, explore. And there has been a lot of joy in the entire quest of learning. And
Right.
this has come through a lot of formative experiences that I've had in my family. Like, my grandfather was a doctor, and I would see him pour through the medicine books. My grandmom, who really did not, cross the high school, but she would also read the novels and, draw a lot of pleasure from it and shared stories with us. As a kid, I heard the stories when I was growing up, and both my parents are entrepreneurs, always raring to go and wanting to try new things. At the bottom of it, I always saw that there was joy and power in learning, which also inspired me. That is one. Second, I also felt that learning is a lot about how it adds to life and experiences of others as well.
Absolutely, yes.
So I have seen that when you learn and you're able to expand the horizons of your learning, you touch and transform lives, and that is how the learning multiplies. So when I saw that entire thing happening right from a kid to now, I always believed that we could unleash the potential of people around and multiply value in many ways, and that has been
Right.
my go-to mantra, if I can say. And that's the reason my interest in learning and development, coaching, teaching, and all of that linked to the talent space, pretty much
Absolutely.
like that.
It's amazing when something like that hits so close to home, and then you realize that the set of values that you've been growing up with, you can also sort of relate them to your professional life. So I can
Yeah.
imagine what an adventure that must have been. Learning and upskilling is more in demand now than ever. And since every organization is different, How do you go about designing learning frameworks, and what kind of tech do you believe can assist here?
Yeah. See, in the current situation, I feel that if there is any differentiator and any currency, it's skills. Because
Right.
skills are the
Yes.
one which are really going to take people and organizations from here to there. That journey is going to be
Absolutely.
traveled by way of skills. And when we
Mm-hmm.
say skills, it's not just the technical skills, it's also the
Right.
entire repertoire of skills which is behavioral. So, how
Absolutely.
grounded and holistically developed talent becomes. That is the essence of skilling and upskilling, no? If you
Yes.
look at
Yes.
it.
Yes.
And whenever I have gone about designing learning interventions, they have been
Mm.
extremely bespoke and customized. Looking
Right.
at the business context, understanding and articulating the real ask in terms of
Mm-hmm.
how is this intervention going to be outcome focused and how is it going to add value to business. That is on one side of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, it has been pretty much putting the learner at the center, because
Mm-hmm.
ultimately this translation of building capability happens through the individual. So you have to keep
Yes.
the learner at the center, understand the learner's styles of learning, aspirations. Is the learner
Mm-hmm.
engaged? And today's learners, in the modern day, they are grappling with so much at work. So
Yes.
they don't have a specific time to learn. They have to learn in the go. They have to learn in
Yes.
the flow
They
of
do.
work. So
Yes. Yes.
it's very creative for us as L&D
Mm-hmm.
professionals to keep that balance. One, the strategic ask, which is a business ask, another is a learner at the center. And when you're looking
Mm-hmm.
at learner at the center, I can just share what has really worked well and helped me is
Mm.
keeping a design thinking mindset. Like,
Right.
when you empathize with the learner and look at what is it that will give joy to the learner, make the learner interested, and as I said,
Yes.
curious in learning, and make
Right.
the
Right.
learning, stick. There has to be stickiness for learning, no? All
Absolutely.
that
Yes.
that will ensure that the entire experience for the learner is very value adding. So fortunately for us, today we have these learning platforms, and
Mm.
technology is a huge enabler.
Mm.
For example, the learning experience platform that provides the entire learning experience in the click of a button. The learner can have multiple modalities, lots of materials, etc., provided
Yes.
for by way of this learning experience platform. There is so much
Mm-hmm.
around social learning where there are communities of practice built, so that a learner is not learning alone. You may learn at your own pace, but you can connect with others who have similar interests. There are
Absolutely.
gamified versions, gamification and simulation are also there.
Mm-hmm.
So, technology, by the way it is used, can help in engaging the learner and crafting better learning experiences. At the other side, I would say it is the skill of the L&D professionals to tie back
Mm.
the learning interventions to make it more learner centric and business
Yes.
centric.
Yes. Absolutely. I really appreciate what you said about upskilling. That is definitely the need of the hour. And I feel like the pandemic has brought that into light. A lot of people are focusing on using this time to upskill themselves in a way. But aside from that, what I liked even more about what you said was about how you should invest in people. So of course technology is available everywhere, but at the end of the day, if you don't know how to actually apply that technology to people and make sure that it's not just you fully relying on tech, but you're using tech along with the people who are your actual resource, who will
True,
help an organization grow.
true.
So I really loved that point that you just put forward. Moving on to the next question. So, do you believe that transformational change often starts at the individual level? And now that most businesses are rethinking their organizational strategies, what do you think would be the best way to go about change management?
Oh, it's a wonderful question. I mean, Gandhiji had said, no, be the change you want to see.
Yes,
I
yes.
feel there's a lot of power in that. It has to start with the individual, and from the individual to the teams and then to the organization.
Yes,
When I
yes.
think of change management, two things stand out for me. One is the cascade. Cascade means how it flows from the organization to the teams and to the individual, or it goes up, travels back. But
Yes,
that's a
yes.
linear kind of a progression. Another is a
Mm.
change in the ripple effect. When we say ripple effect, the entire organization is an ecosystem. No? And even
Yes,
the
yes.
outside, in the context that you're, for example, you're in an industry or in a sector that you're
Mm-hmm.
existing, it's like an ecosystem. So
Right.
whenever there is change in one part, it causes an impact on another. So very often
Absolutely.
it's not in silos, it's as a system. So when we are looking at change and our preparedness for it, we will
Hmm.
have to keep the readiness in terms of the mindset and the skill set and enabling the entire ecosystem to transform. And
Right.
that is the essence of change management. Just to give you a case in point, at Dr. Reddy's, we are having
Hmm.
transformations of so many kinds happening because, for example, we look at how to come out with patient-centric innovation, continuous improvement. We're also trying to, use the digital levers. So there's digital transformation also happening. Lots of
Mm-hmm.
transformations. So
Yeah.
when we're doing that, we realize that while people may take their own approaches, we still need to have a perspective, which is like a go-to
Yes,
reckoner.
absolutely.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
what we are
Yes.
trying to put together at Dr. Reddy's is a change management framework, which is sort of
Mm-hmm.
like a approach to dealing with change with a change playbook. So that when
Okay.
people are in doubt or they want to reach out to something and say, okay, I'm stuck here, how do I move
Mm-hmm.
forward? Then they can go and refer to that.
Okay.
Whenever you're driving a change agenda, there are lots of facets to it. For example, how do you articulate the need for change?
Right,
Okay,
right,
like
right.
how do you create a burning platform for it? And
Mm-hmm.
then do you keep again that human centered approach? When you're driving change, it's not just for the organization, there are individuals, there are people involved in it.
Yes,
How do you get them on
absolutely.
board? How do you
Right,
deal
right.
with resistance? And many
Mm-hmm.
times we've also seen that a lot of change initiatives start with a lot of gung-ho. People are very excited and happy about it,
Yes.
but they fizzle off because
Mm-hmm.
there are no systems which are enabling and sustaining that change. So
Right,
how do you have
absolutely. True.
reinforcement mechanisms at the right places?
Mm.
So I would say that change is it's a very very what I would say evolving process. There are
Mm.
multiple players, there are multiple pieces to it. So whenever we think of that, obviously it starts with the individual, but there is a
Right.
context, there is talent, there is strategy. Everything needs to be interlinked, and it's really wonderful to put it all together and see how best it can cater to the ask.
Yes, yes. I feel like the one takeaway from what you said that, I probably would not have explored from that angle before is how you sustain change.
Yeah,
Because, at the cost of sounding very cliche that, change is the only constant, at the end of the day, it's also true. And in order to be comfortable, especially in a growing environment where change is essential, it's very rapid, and by the time you come to terms with that change, there's a new change. So in
yeah.
order to get comfortable with that, and also to succeed, it's obviously very, very important to know how to sustain that change. So moving on to the next question. HR is a complex dimension of corporate culture, but also one that's extremely important. So, what are some HR interventions that you would like to talk about that are more prevalent, and what are also some obsolete practices?
Okay. Good question. I can tell you that HR was always important, but in the current scenario, the focus has been pretty much on talent and people. Okay?
Right,
And therefore, the role of HR has become, one is very pertinent and also
mm-hmm.
very effervescent in the current times. The
Right,
traditional roles that HR people and folks played, like where you did administration and you were into the sort of policy and procedures and all of that, that is there, but that's not really the key. The focus
hmm.
has shifted to the softer aspects. For example,
Right,
today the HR function is expected to be in charge of change. We just
right,
spoke
right,
about it.
right.
So you have to
Mm-hmm.
be business accelerators also. You have to be
Right, right.
strategizing, more like co-pilots to business in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also supposed to be the culture architects, because we realize that if strategy of the business has to be accomplished, it has to be done through the levers of culture. And
Absolutely, yes.
the HR fraternity and function has a very important responsibility to play in that regard as well. So
Right.
definitely dialing up on the softer aspects of the people dimension has
Mm-hmm.
become more profound in the current times. And if you ask me about the kind of interventions, I would say that the role and the function of HR has innovative up to us solutions and engagement of the people. And
Hmm.
talent is not what talent is. Talent is what talent does. So the journey
Right.
from making talent the best in the way they can contribute and add value
Mm-hmm.
is
Yes.
possible through the HR
Mm.
function. And if you talk about what kind of interventions, I would say I don't want to tight jacket it and say only do X, Y, Z. It should be very evolving and in line with the contextual demands. Like,
Yes.
for example, when we were facing the pandemic at Dr. Reddy's, we were focusing a lot on care and safety for
Yes. Yes.
because they were giving in the pharma space, the demands of business continuity was important. We had to also come out with that patient-centric solutions which are there. So,
Right. Right. Right.
so therefore, I would say the role of HR has been to take the people along, keep them engaged at all times. And today
Mm-hmm.
also with the hybrid workplaces coming in, where people are working in plants and sites and there are some working from home. It is not like a one size fits all, where you open a rule book and say, okay, this is exactly what I do.
Exactly.
Here,
Yes.
it
Yes.
would be
Yes.
more like looking at the segment that you're dealing with and being empathetic at the same time trying to address the business needs. I really
Right.
like the thing about Dr. Reddy's values. We have empathy and
Mm-hmm.
dynamism as the values. And
Okay.
I would say all HR practitioners and the function should probably dial up these two. Empathy for the users, your end customers, that is the people, and the
Mm-hmm.
dynamism in keeping in line with the business. So this is
Right.
the way I look at it.
I really love how you said talent is what talent does, because that is so relevant no matter what situation you're given in. Like how we discussed some time ago, that, change is constant. It keeps happening everywhere. And like you mentioned that, at Dr. Reddy's, all of you have been taking good care of patients. And the way that you take care of them or the way that you look at things as an HR professional have definitely changed with the changing times. So, like you mentioned, even though you have talent, it also has to be adaptable and it just has to sort of come out in the situation the way that it is demanded. So, absolutely love that. Moving on to the last question for today. So, what advice would you give to leaders who imbibe change and look ahead of them at the path before them?
Oh. So, well, I would say that whenever we have times that we encounter, it comes with
Mm-hmm.
challenges and opportunities alike. There are
Right.
challenges to be surmounted, but there are opportunities available. So, if
Absolutely.
you're looking at how to make the most of the situations that we come by and encounter, it would
Mm.
be to dial up the leadership potential that lies within oneself and make the most of what comes to us by way of impetus and environment cues. I would like
Mm.
to elaborate on the acronym of LEAD, LEAD.
Okay.
And for me, the L stands for listening. Listening to what is happening around us, listening to what others are trying to say. So, whether it could be your internal stakeholders, external stakeholders. So, when we are
Mm-hmm.
in the listening mode, there is a lot of learning happening because you're reflecting,
Absolutely,
you're
yes.
drawing insights, you're making sense. Sense making is happening, that
Mm.
people along. So being empathetic is very important. Then A is the agility, the agile mindset, because you have to do things faster, smarter, on the go.
Yes,
So it's also about evolving skills. There's nothing like you learned at all. You
absolutely.
have to keep improvising on the go. So that is why the agility
Mm-hmm.
piece also matters. And D is the drive. But you also have to learn it all and do it. So when you have to do it, you need to. So what makes a person a winner or a true leader
Yes,
is the drive. The drive is the energy which makes the person really purposeful, and it exhibits or demonstrates by way of passion in action. So passion in action
yes,
is drive for me,
absolutely.
and that is something that is there in a leader. So if you are a leader whom other people look up to, who has credibility, you have to walk the
Mm-hmm.
talk, and that drive also now, or when we look at what will come ahead in future. If there is something that will really augur us well, it would be being holistically developed, being balanced, having this lead intact, and no matter what comes.
So, Dr. Swati, it was very nice talking to you. And it's always
Likewise.
great, thank you. It's always great talking to powerful women who are as inspiring as you. So I really want to thank you for your time and your insight. And I view this conversation as a learning experience, and I'm sure that so will our viewers and listeners. So once
Thank you
again,
so
thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you so much, Sneha, and thank you, People Hum. And to all the people listening out there, just go make it big and leave your sparkle wherever you go. Best wishes.
Absolutely, that's great advice. Thank you so much once again.